super excited that you're back here on my channel. So today's video we are going to be talking about vintage clothing. I have officially been wearing vintage for probably about 2 years now, and it's honestly been such a fun trip / journey to start into this vintage world. It's honestly such a community though. I love following people on Instagram and seeing where they are getting their things that they're thrifting. And I think it's important to distinguish the difference between vintage and thrifting. There's a little bit of overlap, a little bit of gray space, but when I say vintage clothing, I'm literally talking about pieces from like the 40s, 50s, and 60s that have been really kept and made to last at these vintage clothing stores. Thrifting is what I think about as like going to Goodwill and rooting through the blue buckets. I like to do that too, but this video is going to be specifically about vintage clothing and some of my favorite pieces and how I got started. So like I mentioned, I started dressing vintage about 2 years ago. I started to collect and kind of build my wardrobe from my favorite store here in Charlotte, the Sleepy Poet. Literally, there was probably a point where everything in my closet was from Sleepy Poet. I love that store. It's amazing. They do a great job of classifying all of the things by decade. So if you know, oh, I just want to wear things from the 70s, I love that era, you can go to the 70s section and just look at those clothes. Or for me, I shopped 40s through 60s. I love that kind of old school Hollywood glamour, swing dresses, T-strap shoes kind of thing. I think it's just super important though when we do talk about vintage clothing and when it's time to part with those clothes that we talk about resale, because these clothes are not meant to end up in a Goodwill store. They're not meant to end up at a yard sale. Please, if you have true original vintage, take them to a vintage store where somebody else can love and care for these clothes as much as you did and the person before them did. I recently just did a huge closet clean out and took a bunch of my original vintage pieces to Jaybird Vintage in Kalamazoo before I left. And it was super awesome because 1, you're helping a small business get inventory. 2, you're getting a couple bucks in your pocket, which is great for us broke college kids. And 3, these clothes are going to be in hands so where somebody knows how to take care of them and somebody else who loves vintage can go and find them and take them home and take care of them and wear them and love them forever. So that's all I have to say about resale because I think it's super important. And I really think we also should talk about vintage sizing because I think sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, sizing doesn't work vintage. I'm not meant to wear vintage. Yes, you are. Yes. So you have to think these clothes, especially my clothes, were made in the 40s and 50s. They were a lot tinier back then, ladies and gents. Things are going to be smaller. You're going to have to size up. Don't look at the number. It does not matter. Typically, I'm a 4 or a 6, just depending upon what's going on. But in the vintage world, I'm literally an 8 or a 10. And when I started this, I was like, oh gosh, I'm a 10. I'm an 8. Who cares? Nobody. Buy what fits. You're not going to wear it if it doesn't fit. That doesn't mean I haven't bought pieces of clothing that don't fit and I just display them. Guilty. Do it a lot of the times. You can ask people I go thrifting with and vintage shopping with. I buy lots of things that don't fit and I just display them and use them as decorative art. Probably not the best choice. Anywho, don't be afraid of the sizing. Go ahead, buy what fits. Try. Don't be afraid to try on. You're not going to break it. Some of these things look super delicate. They look super like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't touch it. Yes, probably, but just be careful. Try them on. Most stores have a changing area, a fitting room. Go try it on, slip it on, see if it fits. Accessories. Oh my gosh, I could shop vintage accessories all day long. I have gotten several great fasteners. For those of you who don't know what a fascinator is, it's like a headband / hat that just right there. It's not like a full hat and it's not like a headband. Some of them come on headbands and you can like clip on and off. And some of them are just like baby little hats that you just like, boop. Yeah. Earrings, ladies. Oh my gosh, the clip-on earring selection. If you don't have your ears pierced, this is like earring heaven for you. I have converted a lot of my earrings to stud backs. They're super easy to convert. A lot of people don't like when people say they convert their earring backs because you're kind of destroying the vintage. And I get that, but like, sometimes they hurt, and most earrings that I have converted, I have gone through and gotten from my grandmother's jewelry box, so I don't feel as bad because like I know she's okay with it, you know. I know they're family earrings, so I don't know, I still have some guilt about it, let's be honest. But anyway, I love my vintage jewelry. Hats, bags, purses. I have super cute little bags that are actually original vintage. Scarves are great. Hair scarves are great to find thrifted. And most of the time, they're relatively inexpensive. Like, if you set a budget and you go to a vintage store, you can probably stay on it and get several good pieces and get like lots of wear out of it, and then go back to the same store and turn it back in again. I do that all of the time. They're probably like, oh my gosh, you were just here. And I'm like, yeah, I was, but I want different ones. So it's super great if you're like me and you're constantly rotating your wardrobe in and out because you just can't decide what you want. Before I go ahead and tell you what this video is going to be about, I'm going to talk about the gold mine of vintage. Your grandparents. Go talk to them. Most of them still have something that they can give you. Or aunts and uncles. Like, my grandmother honestly did the best job of keeping some of her clothes and her jewelry and stuff from the 50s and the 60s, and I love digging through her trunks and finding like these amazing pieces that you can't find in the store and you can't find remade anywhere. One of my favorite pieces that I can think of from her trunks is a black taffeta dress that she bought for a college formal that my mom then wore in Miss Ohio teen pageant, and then I wore it in a band concert. Like, honestly, this dress has withstood the test of time. Like, it is in mint condition. It is gorgeous. Take care of your clothing and then pass it on later. Like, it's so incredible. Like, that dress is awesome. And like, each one of us added something to it, which I think is super special. Like, I added straps because my dress needed to have sleeves, and I just went ahead and did a little quick black strap on it, and it's super great. I can't wait to pass it down because I think it's super important, is to pass down the history, pass down these pieces of clothing, because they're nuggets of history, y'all. Like, yeah, they are. So I've said a lot about vintage. I've said a lot about my vintage, I guess, story, style, I don't know. But now I think it's time for me to try on some vintage and show you what I've got. So I have a couple outfits over here that I'm going to try on for you. Just to give you a quick show through, I'm going to try to mention the decade and the designer, the brand of the item, the piece of clothing that I found, and I'm going to style it with vintage accessories, either jewelry or a bag or a hat, fascinator, that kind of thing, so you can kind of get what it would be like to wear it then and now. But my biggest piece of advice for anybody who's thinking about starting their vintage adventure is don't care what other people think. Honestly, you are so fabulous. Just do it on your own. Who cares what other people think? You have to wear what makes you happy. And if that is a 1960s swing dress, put it on and go out the door. So, I love you all lots. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about thrifting, throw them down in the comment. I will do my best to answer. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. And without further ado, let's get to trying on. Bye, guys. 17, honey. No, I'm not. I'm 19 going on 20. I just want to wear this in public. Oh, gorgeous. She is a queen.